The Habs end off their West Coast road trip with another perfect loss for the Tank as they lose 4-3 to Vegas. There was lots of good effort, some great depth scoring, and we'll be getting into all that on this edition of Habs Digest. Hello, bonjour, ahoy, and welcome to today's game reaction edition of Habs Digest. I'm your host, Josh Gosse, alongside my co-host, Jesse Poirier. Reminder to hit subscribe. We're almost at 4,300 subs. We're going up pretty fast, guys, so thank you for hitting the subscribe button, and if you guys haven't hit it yet, do it now. It'd really help us out. Jesse, that was a bit of a fun game, right? Maybe after the first period and even after the second period being down 3-0, things weren't looking great for the Habs, but they really pushed in the third period, had a great fight, and they made something from nothing with some amazing goals from Matheson, Belzile, Harvey Pinard. What were your thoughts on the Habs' ability to, look at this deficit 3-0, and even with the sort of lack of talent, be able to come back and almost force this game to overtime in the final minutes?
I was happy because you can tell that they hate losing all the same. You know, I know that this year is all about rebuilding, but these close games, they hurt to lose, Josh. You know, when we have the empty net, when we have that chance, you know, we saw Mike Hoffman, you know, so close to kind of tying it up right there at the end, you know. So that's it, you know, kind of a bad first period, but we kind of regrouped, got a lot of good momentum in that second period. Even though the scoreboard didn't show it, you know, kind of brought that into the third period, really made a game of it. But like you said, a perfect Tank game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's an exciting game. We got some goals from some fan favorites, Raphael Harvey Pinard and Alex Belzile. And yeah, Montreal's playing a Vegas team that bolstered their roster. They just got Jonathan Quick, who made his Vegas Golden Knights debut, and it is the weirdest thing to see him in that jersey. And Craig Button pointed out later in the game, Jonathan Quick is, I think, 48th out of 49th out of starting goaltenders for save percentage this season, which is, I didn't know, but hey, sure wouldn't have been able to tell tonight based on his amazing performance against Montreal. But Jesse, one thing with Montreal this game, they got off to a hot start early, getting some good chances against Vegas, but from a few minutes into the first, into well into the second period, it really just felt like Montreal could get nothing going in transition at all. The turnovers were going crazy until really the third period. I don't know what it is. Do you think it's maybe just this roster turnover injuries that are causing all these turnovers, this lack of cohesion in transition? It's not every game, but I don't know. Do you think that's a concern moving forward, or do you think it's just maybe some growing pains and a lot of young guys who need to learn their roles?
It is some growing pains, but yeah, you know, definitely want to avoid giving up those turnovers. We saw those 2-on-1s, you know, off of turnovers really cost us tonight, you know, kind of the difference maker. One of those other big points in this game that I will take away is, again, the power play, you know, you know, those first two power plays really weren't looking too great at all. After that, our third one, we were a lot more aggressive on it. I feel like there was definitely some words on it, but I feel not quite enough, Josh, which kind of brings me to the point of, I really feel like we need a new power play coach for next year. I really feel that we need to replace Alex Burrows, because for sure he's not getting a compliment of a healthy roster right now. For sure not, you know, he's not having everything in his favor, but he has been there long enough. And this issue has been there for a long enough of a time where I feel like we should be getting some traction with our power play. We're actually losing momentum as a result of it.
That's a big point I think you made right there. The fact that the Habs tend to lose momentum, and it's something that I've noticed too. I think it's something every Habs fan has noticed. And yeah, the frustration is starting to boil over with Alex Burrows. It started early in the season. It continued into the mid-season. You'd see some spurts here and there where the Habs would go on a couple game streak of some really nice power play chances. But especially coming right out of the All-Star break, the Habs were quite good on the PP. But I don't know. This turnover and power play personnel is not really working. But the big problem is not the fact that the Habs can't score when the power play is set up, because once the power play is set up, I feel like they don't look too bad. The problem to me, Jesse, is the Habs can't get it set up. I mean, we've seen over and over this, all right, Matheson will skate up and he'll turn back, it'll give it to Suzuki, and that's been the Habs' power play since Burrows took over. Suzuki bursts into the offensive zone looking for a pass to the wing. If it's not there, maybe a dump in. And how often has that just resulted in Vegas getting the puck immediately and dumping it? It feels like maybe half the time, if even half the time, Montreal is even able to get set up. And to me, that's the big problem. If you can't even get set up on the power play, how do you expect to score?
Yeah, because I feel it's a little bit predictable that every time you're looking for the trailer on your zone entry. I feel like you got to put pressure on the defense with the man advantage to respect you as the puck carrier, that I might take this puck and come into your offensive zone with it. Is that such a crazy thought, right? When you're on the power play, there should be much more of this option. Of course, if it's not there, then as a last resort of kind of going to the trailer. But I think that taking the puck into the offensive zone, attacking with speed, playing north-south hockey would be much more effective than looking for the trailer every time.
Yeah, and another power play point, just quick. We still have Hoffman on that first power play on the right side, the right hash marks, looking for that one-timer on his offside. I want to see Gurianov there, and I want to quickly mention Gurianov because I didn't see him in the third period at all. I don't know if he was benched. You didn't notice anything. I don't remember him getting hurt unless I missed it. I don't know if you missed it. I looked like online, the game thread on Reddit, every single comment. No one mentioned he was missing. Maybe that's not a good thing if no one notices that Gurianov's not on the ice. Maybe he's not making the impact you want him to make, but very curious. There's like no tweets, no nothing. He just vanished in the third. So if anyone knows any updates on Gurianov, please leave it in the comments. Maybe something will come out by the time this video's out. Who knows? But Jesse, one thing I wanted to transition into was again, that third period. And I know Montreal is so good at just rallying when they're down. But that early goal in the third, that Mike Matheson goal, I want to get your thoughts on that. That first goal of the third period, just a few minutes in, like, just that toe drag into that shot. Matheson looked like the Habs' best player tonight, bar none. He's looked so good since the All-Star break. He's had something like 8 points in his last 8 games. Don't quote me on that, but man, have I been impressed with him.
Yeah, and he's really a leader out there tonight. What I liked is, once the Habs, kind of got scored on again where, Vegas was having that 2-goal advantage. Who but Matheson was really on the ice, really skating.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the difference maker to allow us to build the momentum to eventually get back in this game. And like you were saying, Josh, on that goal that he scored, looking on like Lane Hudson with that
yes.
move that we saw him quite recently score as well. So just a complete beauty. We're seeing 2 mobile defensemen really doing what they do best. So really happy to see this recent development from Matheson. Huge uptick in his game recently.
Yeah, I've been super impressed with him. He's been amazing. And, it's a bit of a shame that Cayden Guhle is back on the injury reserve. Just insane, the injury luck for Montreal. But hey, in his replacement, the guy the Habs traded for at the trade deadline for Nate Schnarr, Frederic Allard made his second NHL ever appearance wearing number 82 for the Habs tonight. And honestly, I felt like he belonged there, Jesse. We didn't see a ton of him on the ice, but I think he took a few shots here and there. He looked comfortable. Quick thoughts on Allard. And do you think, it feels like if the Habs need an emergency call-up D-man, especially on the right side, I feel like he's not a bad choice.
Yeah, definitely. I think that our defense could use a little bit more offensively minded players, which he is when he's at his best. Right now, he's just working on kind of developing his defensive game as well, just to be that well-rounded, complete NHL defenseman. So it'll be nice to see how he progresses.
Yep, for sure. One of the last things I want to talk about, and it's something I hate blaming games on this because to me it's fine. This is a good tank loss. Montreal put in lots of good effort. They just got outplayed by Vegas. That's fine. However, the referees did seem to have a bit of an impact on this game, especially late in the third. There was one play, and if you guys were watching the TSN feed, you'll know Mr. Craig Button was losing his mind, blowing a gasket over this. Jonathan Kovacevic lays an impressive open ice hit, and he falls to the ice. It wasn't a charge, didn't leave his feet. Perfect, clean hit. And Alec Martinez chases after him, throws down his gloves, and forces him to fight. Craig Button loses his mind saying, if that's how you're going to treat hits, just take hits out of hockey. Right now, it's to the point it feels like you make a big hit and you have to fight for it. But my problem is there was no instigation penalty when Alec Martinez created the conflict and went after Kovacevic. And then later in the third, when Dvorak was entering the zone with just a couple minutes left, if there's a stick in his skates, he got taken down. The refs swallowed their whistle. And again, Craig Button blew a gasket. Unbelievable, but not going to get too much into that. Jesse, do you think the refs did have an impact on the game down the stretch? What are your thoughts on that instigation penalty and maybe how some non-calls really maybe hurt Montreal in those final few minutes?
Yeah, well, we're seeing it's very common now.
Yeah.
As Craig Button was saying, that when you do have the big hit, that whether it's clean or not, that you are going to have the scrum after it. And I know that there is a little bit of a discussion on that. I'm of the personal opinion that if it's a clean hit, I think you have to keep playing, right? Because, it kind of, you need to kind of keep a little bit of honesty in the game, right?
True.
If they're doing something that they shouldn't, by all means, kind of jump in. But if you're jumping every time on no matter what type of hit, just because it's big, right? I think that you can make a big hit as long as it's clean, right? So I think that should be a little bit more of the determinant factor. I don't think that the refs were the reason that we lost.
No.
Hockey's a very quick game, there at the end. Of course, it would have been a nice to get that call on Dvorak at the end. At the same time, we did have our chances coming really close at the end as well. Hoffman, maybe he gave away that puck. I've seen him do a couple times this year in the third period when we have our goalie out, the old backhand into the nether, so to speak. All in all, I think Marty St. Louis at least going to be happy that we came back with the effort in this one.
Yeah, I'll be happy with the third period. Happy with the effort. Happy that Belzile got his second ever NHL goal. We didn't really talk about that. A nice fake slapper into a snapshot beats Jonathan Quick's short side on the break. That was beautiful. And RHP, his goal. Didn't really talk about that either. Beautiful cycle play from Suzuki on the boards. Suckered it right back down, no look to Ulanen right under the net, who I know you mentioned had a really good game tonight. Ulanen got a bit of a chance on the top line with Suzuki and RHP after Gurianov disappeared and there was some shuffling, so props to him, and he set up RHP for that beautiful goal where it was a little one-timer in front of the net. But all in all, Montreal played a really, really strong game, probably strong second half of the game. Really, really strong. Outplayed Vegas in the last 30 minutes of the game, I'd say for sure. So it was good news. Some young guys got some good run. Habs played well. They lost some points in the standings, which is good news for those of you who want a draft pick. So all in all, pretty good game. But that'll do it for this game reaction edition of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a comment, like, subscribe to the Habs Digest YouTube channel. Help us hit 4,300 subs, soon to be 5,000. We really appreciate all the support. I'm Josh Gosse for my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.